So let's simplify things a little bit. Let's simplify that map pack for our listeners here. What are 3 or 4 pillars that Google specifically is looking for to kind of give you a nudge and put you in the top of this ranking?
Let me just answer the question with the consensus of dozens of SEO experts.
Yeah, please.
Here's a cheat code for anyone out there that's trying to look up this information. Whitespark, which is a local SEO tool, they release local ranking factors every year.
Okay.
So they actually recently released the local ranking factors for 2026.
Great. Yeah, let's hear it.
So if you're looking for an in-depth dive of this, definitely look up Whitespark's local ranking factors. But if you had asked me, the name of the business is number 1. And, I would love to work with a law firm that said personal injury lawyer near me, and that was their name, because that's great.
You see some places doing that now. I'll
Yeah.
see restaurants and it'll say food near me or.
Yeah.
I think there's a place in Denver now called Local Food Here.
Yeah.
It's funny.
Kudos to them. Kudos to them for working the system. So the name of your business is the most important. So when you are coming up with the name of your business, we all are trained to be like, oh, let's make it be unique. Let's make it do this. But being upfront and just telling people what you do very quickly is very important.
I think that's a good point that I think a lot of people kind of skip over that.
Yeah.
And then law firms specifically are a lot of times trying to look for that kind of panache, in their name, like that hook so that
Elegance.
they can be that firm in an area. It's like, oh, that really sticks in the mind when, the name. But I think being descriptive of your business is really important when you calling yourself personal injury lawyers or criminal defense lawyers in the name is great.
Yeah, and that's huge. That's really important. And, you'll see a lot of law firms trying to cheat the system and trying to put keywords in their name in the Google Map Pack. And, that's an easy way to get suspended. We call it spam fighting. Like, we will go in as an agency, and if any of our competitors are doing that, we'll notify Google to get it removed.
And just to clarify a little bit here, because in one hand, you're saying, hey, put that in your name, but then you're saying firms are putting it in their name. So you mean that it's not actually their name and they're putting it in their name.
They're just putting it in their name
even
for
though
the keyword.
So it's like, Bill and Ted's law firm is what the name is. And then they're saying personal injury lawyers, car accident lawyers, and they're just kind of stuffing that into the title.
Totally.
And you're talking about actually formally calling your law firm Smith Personal Injury Attorneys or something like that.
And if your law firm already has a name, it's not too late. We do this for our clients quite a bit. You can get a DBA, doing business as. You can open up a DBA with your name and the keywords that we want in there. It's very quick to do, and it will protect you from Google.
If somebody does what you're saying, they report your profile, you can go to Google and say, no, that's what my business is called. Here's our DBA. That's the official form of it.
Yeah.
It's also probably important to make sure it's in your logo on your website, your name mentioned, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I assume, yeah.
And the reason we just spent 5 minutes talking about this is because it is the number 1 ranking factor.
Yeah, let's hear a couple more.
So number 2 would be categories.
Okay.
And there's a lot of tools out there that will help you identify your competitors' categories, right? So this shouldn't be overlooked, and you want to be very specific. Okay, so if Google Business, when you're setting it up, it's just like a field intake form, right? And you can't make up your own category. Google already gives you pre-selected categories. And a lot of them are law firm, personal injury lawyer, defense attorney, so on and so forth. So if you're a personal injury lawyer, you don't want to do the category of law firm, right? But, we may have a lot of lawyers out there be like, well, I do other things than that, right? But if your primary focus is personal injury, your category should be personal injury.
And not law firm.
Correct.
Okay.
And then in the other categories, because you get multiple categories, but the primary category is the most important. Number 2 in the most important ranking factors for this. But you can select and you can look at what your competitors have in their secondary categories, and you can always put that into your secondary categories as well.
Okay.
So
let's go to third.
Third for ranking factors, I would say on-page SEO is important. Very important.
That's kind of a deeper one.
Yeah. And that opens up a whole nother can of worms. What a lot of people's belief is the more powerful of a page that you're pushing your Google Business Profile to or attaching it to. And what I mean by that is when I mentioned the Google Business Profile is a bunch of fields, you insert your website there.
Is one of the fields.
Yeah, that's one of the fields. So the more powerful the link that you put into that field, the better your Google Business Profile will perform. And that's the one that takes a lot of work. That's the
So a
one
page
that's
that
hard
works,
to do.
ranks well organically is really what you want to be using in there, which
Yeah.
ideally should be your homepage.
Yeah.
Typically, unless we can get into more about satellite offices and things like that. But
Yeah.
a lot of times it is your homepage going into that.
Yeah, and that goes with the category of relevance. Like the keywords that your website represents should match like personal injury lawyer. It should be that.
Yeah.
And I have to say number 4 just because I don't want to discredit everything I said by people not saying this is proximity.
Of course. Yeah.
How close the individual who's searching is to your Google business profile. So I got to say proximity.
And that can be
there's a lot
tough.
that
I mean,
goes
that's
into
actually
it.
worth looking into because I'm sure you've experienced the issue where you have a client and they're like, hey, Houston is my market, and they're in a suburb of Houston, and I'm going for Houston, and it's like, hey, you need an office in Houston then. That's if you want to really compete in Houston. And the inverse can be true. It can be tough for somebody who is downtown. They have people who are out in the suburbs kind of eating into some of their business because of that proximity. Are there any tips or tricks you can give in there?
Yeah, we can nerd out on this, and it's funny the things that excite people in their lives. So sorry, whoever's listening to this, but this is exciting stuff. When it comes to proximity, you can break it down by, if you wanted to rank in Houston, go to Google Maps and put in Houston, Texas, right? And in Google Maps, it will show you a red line all along Houston. That is what Google identifies as Houston. So you need to make sure your location is within those red lines.
I think that's a really good tip. That I think a lot of, whether it's marketing director or a firm owner, it's just the attorney whoever's looking at that. They don't necessarily look at that because they're looking at, am I in a good location? Is it not crazy expensive? And they're not looking at, hey, what are the exact borders of this city?
Yeah, that's huge. And then the closer you can get to the word Houston on the map, typically
Okay, so the
better.
closer your dot is to where it says Houston on Google Maps.
Yeah, but the most important thing is to make sure you're in that red line.
Okay,
Yep.
great. All right, let's get a little bit deeper into the profile. So you talked a little bit about this already, so we might kind of rehash a little bit here, but I want to talk about the foundation of your Google business profile. What is the most critical, and it might be something that's overlooked a lot, but the most important section that like your firm has to get this right, or it can be it's a huge setback. It's going to be really hard to break into the rankings if you don't do that.
If your location is shared with another law firm, that's a no-go. So if there is another law firm...
That's another thing I think a lot of people don't think about.
Yeah.
A lot of law firm owners, you're in a big office. What does it matter if there's another personal injury lawyer here? But you're saying it does matter, and it's bad.
It's really bad. Yeah. And, early bird gets the worm. This is the case of that, where, if there's a law firm at the address before you, Google will usually give them the priority, and you would have to work very, very hard to overcome that. And if they're being active at all on their profile, you're not going to overcome.
You're kind of cooked, as the kids
You're kind
say
of
now.
cooked. Yeah, go find a different address.
Okay.
Like, spot's taken.
Yeah.
So
I think that's great insight, especially for somebody who's looking to get a firm. Hey, check this office
Yeah.
building that you're looking at. You're looking to open a new office. Don't go in to the same thing. Okay, I think that's great.